The word decaf doesn't really fill us with much joy or happiness. In fact, it's one of the words that perhaps we all dislike a bit more than we should do. So I've been on a quest to find the perfect decaf coffee. This month we have a brand new offering that we think you might find of interest. So what is it about decaf that we actually don't like? Perhaps sometimes I find decaf coffees can actually have that idea of being a bit bland or a bit unexciting. So I've been trying for a long time to find the perfect decaf that will mean that I can enjoy my coffee of an evening and not get in trouble with the wife for drinking too much coffee. So this month, as is a bit of a tradition with last month, I found a fantastic one from Neighbourhood Coffee. Now the reason I went to Neighbourhood Coffee was purely down to the fact that last month, if you'd seen the previous video, I found the coffee that is perhaps my all-time favourite, the Summertime Brews, which was an Ethiopian Guji variety, and it literally blew my mind. So I thought to myself, why not better if I'm trying to find a really good decaf coffee than to start with the peak of my current interest. So here we have the Columbian variety. I can't get no caffeination. I do really love the way that they actually rename all of these coffees. They do sound pretty exciting, to be fair. Now the reason I chose this was down to that idea that if the other coffees are that good, then surely their decaf should be just as good. So what do we get, or what can we expect from this particular coffee? Well, we've got tasting notes in here of treacle, black cherry and toffee, so we'll look out for those in a moment. This is a washed and decaffeinated variety, and it's actually made up from 8 different farms around the Columbian region, so it is quite an interesting coffee to say the least. So what do we get when we first open the bag? Let's have a little look into what we get as the first sense. So now this is something that I tend to personally find with a lot of Colombian coffees. To me they smell almost winey. You know that smell you get of perhaps open a bottle of red wine and you get a lot of berry flavours and a lot of thickness to the scents that they produce. This is no different. This really does smell like a very traditional Colombian coffee. But as almost a bit of an afternote, I tend to get quite a lot of almost like a dark chocolate type of consistency to it. It's actually quite nice. For a Colombian, I feel like this is one of the nicer ones that I've actually tried to look into in quite a while. It's very sweet, and I think I can kind of understand where they get the treacle idea from. Even though we haven't tested the actual taste of it yet, certainly within the smelling notes of it, it gives you quite a lot to look forward to. So what about the actual colour and the size of the beans? So these are very dark, and they've also got a bit of a shine to them as well. Normally I would look at these type of beans and think to myself, I'm probably not going to enjoy it. Having seen some others in the past, I used to buy Waitrose beans, and they used to be really, really good until I had a few really bad batches, but they all had a very dark and very glistening type of feel to them, very, very dark roast. But these do actually look quite nice, even though they are very dark, perhaps a little bit darker than I would normally go to. But they still look great. So let's see what these are like ground up, and we'll make ourselves our first coffee. Now, like with all Neighbourhood coffees, these are an omni-roast, so it means I can use these for either espresso or filter. So I'm going to do a single shot of espresso, and I will top it up with a little bit more water. Now they have also advised that you can get further flavours brought out just by using a dash of milk. I'm going to stick with the black coffee today, but we'll see what results we get from this. So, what do we see first of all? Well, I think the thing I quite like about this, and admittedly it's a slightly bigger espresso cup, I've topped it up with a little bit of water. I've got a lovely dark crema on top, which always looks fantastic. But the colour of it's also quite intriguing as well. What I tend to find with a lot of the espressos that I make here at home with my Sage Barista Express is that the colours can be very clear in terms of a good bright crema and a very dark, almost Guinness-like type of colour, if you see what I mean, for the main body of the coffee itself. This is just a little fraction lighter. I would say this is more of a dark, huey type of brown. Still looks great, so let's see what we actually get for the taste. It's really good. It's really good. You wouldn't really know that you was drinking a decaf coffee at this stage. Admittedly, I have made this very strong. I like strong coffee, but I do feel like you get quite a lot of taste. So the days of those bland bland decaf coffees are probably starting to head behind us quite quickly now. I very much get that idea of a dark cherry type of feel. I can get that in the background, perhaps not so strong as perhaps I would have thought from the front of the packet, but certainly something quite treacly and quite chocolatey. But I think that's the whole idea with it. You do get a lot of those flavours, very similar to what you get when you're smelling inside the bag itself. I like that. It makes me feel like there's no surprises there. Sometimes you can smell a bag of coffee and you think to yourself, this is going to be incredible, and you get the very opposite effect. Or it might smell terrible but actually taste delicious. This is neither of those. This is very much consistent, so it does smell great when you first open the bag, but it tastes really nice. And I can imagine if I was drinking this of an evening, now I do normally have several espressos when I get in from work, purely out of habit or addiction, whatever you'd like to call it, but I really enjoy my coffee in the evening. So this would actually be quite a worthy type of coffee that I could go to. As I said earlier on, I'm not a huge Columbian fan normally, but I quite enjoy this. It doesn't rock my world the same way as the Ethiopian Guji did from last month. That's going to take a lot of beating. But I quite enjoy it. I feel like this is a very, very good way of spending your money on something that you can enjoy into the evening without feeling like you're going to lose sleep or you're going to start feeling hugely anxious towards the end of the night. And for the money, a very good buy. So a 250 gram bag of this, I can't get no caffeination, still love that name, I think that's really, really good. £4.95. So if you are looking for something to take a little bit of a punt on, just to see if you'll enjoy it, in all honesty, as much as we have here, then £4.95 I think is a really, really good price for a really decent coffee and something that you can look at as a long-term investment as well. So you can buy this one at the moment from neighbourhoodcoffee.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this review and I hope you look forward to the coffees for next month. So we are looking to do more coffees, this time from the south of France. So please join us then as we enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix and a little bit of extra sun. Till then, take care.